Okay, at 6:30, we're gonna go ahead and just, oh, wait a minute, I'm talking in the wrong microphone here.
Oh, that's right.
Completely forgot.
Switch hats.
All right, okay, yeah. No more work. Work done. Redone work. Hello, welcome everybody to the Thursday Night Course in Miracles Zoom call. My name is Chris Green. This is my wife, Reverend Reja Joy. She always blushes when I put Reverend in there. We are reading from the original edition of the Course in Miracles, and tonight we are in chapter 4, the root of all evil. Doesn't that sound interesting? And we're going to read part 3, the ego and the false autonomy. And we have paragraphs 24 through 40. So we've got a pretty good size assignment tonight. We're on from 6:30 to 7:45. I hope we can get through it. I'm sure we will. We seem to always finish on time. And it seems like people always seem to get their share out and whatever they want to say. So
Where's Tony?
well, he's just gonna have to.
We troubleshooted his Zoom today, got it all set, and he's not here.
He's not here,
but he's all set.
Yeah. Janet, how are your eyes? You look really cool in those shades.
Oh wow! Look at you.
Yeah. You said you had some eye problems. Oh, you're on mute. Okay, so go ahead. If you would like to read, raise your hand, and Joy will randomly call them out so that I can put them down for the reading list.
We're going to make a reading list. Oh yeah, Jacob says she'd like to read,
Okay.
and Joe would like to read, and Sharon wants to read. Elisa.
Wait a minute. Joe,
Lisa.
Sharon,
Jacob, Joe, Sharon, and Elisa.
Lisa.
Anyone else want to read? Got a lot of reading to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we have like 5 paragraphs and sometimes 15, so we never know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's a
Okay.
really good, it's a good reading. I'll read.
Okay.
I'm gonna do okay.
There's nobody.
Nope,
other than-
nope, that's right. Okay.
There's no call
Right.
in
Yeah.
people.
Mhm. Oh, and Karen said she couldn't make it tonight. We
Yeah,
have Karen
Karen's-
usually comes.
Karen's
She's in
out.
Omaha as well.
I think there's
Julia.
Julia coming, and Dennis is out.
Dennis can't come.
Yeah, we haven't seen him for a couple of
Oh,
weeks.
he hasn't said, huh? Okay.
And so-
Oh, and Mark was going to come. He's in Puerto Vallarta. He's usually lives in Hawaii, but he is there and has registered, but we'll see. Maybe he's having some connection difficulties or something, but welcome, Julia. We're
Okay.
taking a reading list, and let us know if you want to read, and we'll add you to the list.
Ask Hans.
And Paula's going to read.
Oh, Paul's
Okay,
gonna read? Okay,
great,
all right.
excellent. And Hans, if, let us know, raise your hand, or, come on camera if you want to read.
I don't have to be on camera to read.
Oh, no, you don't have to be on
Just
camera.
audio.
We're not going to force you to be on
Oh,
camera.
yeah.
That's fine. Okay.
We're not camera shy, are we, honey?
No.
No.
Okay,
So. all
well,
right.
that's fine. That's fine. And if we might call for more, if say you change your mind and you want to read. Oh, there's Eric. Eric's in Omaha as well. And
Eric, we're working on
there he is.
Hey, you made it.
Reverend Mark.
Hey. Eric, we're working on the reading list. You want to read? We got a lot of reading tonight.
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
If you heard me.
Great,
right.
excellent. How about, hi, Reverend Mark. It's so good to see you here. He's got a group too.
Yeah.
Reverend Mark has a group
I
on
think so.
Tuesday evening.
All right. Okay. I think we've got a good list here. People will be coming in possibly a little bit late, but I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Joy. and let her put us in. Oh, I did it.
You
Let
did
her
it again.
lead us into a guided
I'm
meditation.
going to put you in a coma.
I'm gonna put you. We're all going to go into a spiritual coma. She's going to put us in. God did it again. She's going to lead us in meditation. I'll turn it over to her, and then when we come out, we'll start the reading. As I call your name, I'll tell you which paragraph to read, and the first 4 or 5 words in that paragraph. And the reader, I guess, we don't tile, so we read one paragraph at a time. And I guess when the reader is done, or not guess, when the reader is done, they're kind of given first share. So as you're reading, if something comes up for you, you would be the first person to be able to comment. So Joy, I think you are up and ready to go.
Okay, I need to do something that I promised I would do. And I'm not sure how this is going to affect your screen, but this is our website. And we have events. This is where the information for the Zoom group is. It's under the menu. It's on the menu under events. And our Vice President, Dr. Armando Bronze, did the Spanish translation, worked on it for like over 15 years. But and I should say, that translation has footnotes, annotations, and they're wonderful because they really, just like the CE, Robert Perry's edition, the CE has lots of footnotes. And so we're thinking of perhaps printing our book with footnotes, the English. He did the Spanish, but he did down here under events. If you go to this, I'm hoping you go to this later. Our website under events, ACIM Zoom group. And if you go down to the bottom, there's this tonight's reading, and see, there are the footnotes. And what we'd like you to do, please, is just look at them and read them and see if they help you, because he wants feedback, and he asked me, because this is perfect. We're having people do, study this text together. Would you let us know if they are of help to you? Okay, so that's where you get it. All right, it's your events, ACIM Zoom group, and then right there. Okay, and then you could like right click and download and save it and take your time, but I'll hope you get back to me. Okay, so I'm gonna stop. And then also we never do this, but there's quotes. Choose a quote, and I have it in the description that we do this during our meetings, but see, it says to press that. They're random quotes. Is that awesome or what? So you can go to if you need, a little bit of help, if you're having a bad day or whatever, if you're having a good day, go to the website, say, choose a quote and see what comes up. Okay, it's almost like, I don't know, like tarot cards or something. I don't know. So, but we could pick a quote if we sometime we might choose to pick a quote at the end of the meeting or whatever. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you so much. And there we go. We're back to normal.
Normal?
We'll never be back to normal.
We'll never be back to normal.
But we are heading toward our true complete selves,
Truth
the
self,
Atman.
Yeah,
And that's our goal.
for sure. Normal is not.
Okay, so we'll start by, and this is what we always do, Mary Ellen. She's wants to get some ideas on groups and how they do things. And every group that I've ever facilitated over the years always started with a little bit of meditation, because what it does is it quiets our squirrely monkey mind and it relaxes us. So when we're relaxed, we can open up to the loving thoughts of God. So we'll begin by closing our eyes and drawing all the awareness within. And you may not have done this at all today. And I know that I forget to just go within, Today's lesson is so perfect for that. I am blessed as the Son of God. We're supposed to remember that every 10 minutes. So it's really a sort of a practice in mindfulness. So as we relax, we have our eyes closed, we bring our awareness to our body and notice that we're beginning to relax. Our arms are relaxing, legs, torso, because there's nowhere to go right now, nothing to do. It's okay to surrender. Let go. And you may feel some of the tension you were holding just being released. You didn't know you were holding it, and now it's leaving. We bring our awareness to the breath. And you might notice that your breath is calmer now. It's slower. It's relaxed. The breath follows the body follows the breath. And then we'll bring our awareness to our thoughts. Just notice as well that there are fewer thoughts. These are the surface thoughts that we think all the time over and over. And these thoughts tell us that we were born, that we're going to die, that we're separate and alone, that we're wrong. And we let those go because our real thoughts are always with us, the thoughts we think with God. And so, in line with the lesson, what I usually do is bring to mind the day's lesson for those people who are doing the lesson, or just because it's usually it always is a perfect lesson. Today's lesson is I am blessed as a son of God. So as you might even breathe in and exhale. And as you inhale, you might say, I am. And as you exhale, you might say, blessed as a son of God. Inhale, I am. Exhale, blessed as a son of God. This lesson is such an exercise in gratitude. He tells us, you might add, I am blessed as a son of God. I am happy, peaceful, loving, and contented. Or I am calm, quiet, assured, and confident. I am blessed. So every time you do that, it's like a blessing that you're showering yourself with. So we're going to take 2 minutes now to receive that grace. And I will set my timer and then I'll bring us out. And we'll begin now. I am blessed as a son of God. I am blessed as the Son of God. When we're ready, we'll open our eyes.
Thank you, Joy.
Mhm.
Okay, so tonight we are in chapter 4, the root of all evil, and we're going to read part 3, the ego and false autonomy. We have paragraphs 24 through 40.
Mention that each person who reads, did you mention that they get to share
Yeah,
first?
yeah.
You did already?
Yeah,
Oh.
before we're in the meditation. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't. Okay. Hey.
Senior moment. Jacob, can you read 24? It starts with you have asked lately.
Okay. You have asked lately how the mind could ever have made the ego. Question. In fact, the best question you could ask. However, no point in giving an historical answer because the past does not matter in human terms. History would not exist if the same errors were repeated in the present. Abstract applies to knowledge because knowledge is completely impersonal. And examples are irrelevant to its understanding. Perception, however, is always specific and therefore quite concrete. Oh my. If anyone else feels like they have something from this paragraph, I could honor that because I'm not getting a whole bunch. It's a little, I guess it seems a little abstract to me.
In fact, everybody, if you want to unmute yourself, unless there's a real lot of noise. Hi, Tony, you made it. Welcome. Feel free. And does anyone have anything on this one? How many times have you heard someone ask that question? Or how many times have you asked that question?
One of the things I liked about it is the line where because history would not exist as the same errors were not being repeated in the present. To me, that kind of sums it up nicely. History does repeat itself, and if history is a series of errors, then why are you surprised at what you've got in front of you?
Mm-hmm. Didn't he say in the course somewhere that we made a mistake and we keep making the mistake in every moment? It's not, but we can choose again.
Choose again.
You can,
Yep.
and change can come in the twinkling of an eye, and any moment can be a holy instant where we choose again. So it's like, we ask, how could we have made the ego?
Some people choose again and other people buy another lottery ticket.
And if you look at history, we tend to celebrate and honor some of the biggest mistakes we've ever made.
Good point.
Yeah, World War I, World War II. I mean, we make memorials. We remember those days. So it's interesting. Those are really big mistakes, and we celebrate those.
Yeah, and look at who's that?
Oh.
Who is that?
Me?
Oh, okay, Jacob.
You're freezing again, guys.
What I've been thinking lately, which is helping, is I see myself as the consciousness that decided to experience perception and this virtual reality of a world through my body and or through a body. And so I think with this separation helps me because I had a really stressful day today. I mean, it's really, really weird. I have everything I ever wanted to remember about being present, and getting a grip not being completely swallowed up into just went out the window. And you could really beat yourself up over it, especially after what you consider as a lot of time and effort put in wanting to stay and wanting to, to see the illusion as it is and not get roped into it. But I'm not going to, because I'm this essence being inside, trying to experience what it's like to be a human in the virtual reality. And I'm gonna fall. I mean, this body mind is not going to function in a loving, purposeful way as one would, as we're all striving to. We're all striving to be happy. We'd all just want to be happy, and that is defined in so many different ways. But if you define it in being a good person and peaceful and mindful and reaching these goals, and you don't, then that happiness, it's absurd. Look down on yourself, because the happy goes right out the window, and the whole point of it, in every moment, say, hey, this whole show is doing it, and you can't forget. You just have to forgive and move on. That makes sense. But that's what I experienced so far today, and I guess that's what I get out of this about history. And so, anyway,
and also, Jacob, nothing you did or ever do is going to change who you are. I love that.
Yeah.
No mistake.
I lean on that a lot.
No, right. No good thing, no bad thing, nothing done, whether good or bad, is going to change who you are. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go on to paragraph 25. Joe, can you read that? It starts with each man makes one ego for himself.
Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Each man makes one ego for himself, although it is subject to enormous variation because of its instability, and one for everyone he perceives, which is equally variable. Their interaction is a process which literally alters both, because they were not made either by or with the unalterable. It is particularly important to realize that this alteration can and does occur as readily when the interaction takes place in the mind as when it involves physical presence. Thinking about another ego is as effective in changing relative perception as is physical interaction. There could be no better example of the fact that the ego is an idea, though not a reality-based thought. Hello.
Thank you.
I mean, what else can you say? Because it's all right there. Yeah. So whenever I think we view things, or perception of the ego, and we see things from an ego base, and we're looking from that, we're usually judging or living in fear. And so, that's one way of looking at it. Or you can change your view by changing your thinking. And that's how I wish to perceive. I notice that I myself, when I am judgmental and looking at somebody, I'm just looking through my ego, and I'm sharing my ego with probably another ego, instead of looking at them through love and looking at them as a sister or a brother, all created by God, as was I. So that's what I try to focus on. There was somebody said yesterday in A Course of Love, which I loved it. It said, how can I have a new view? How can I have a new view of things? Which is not usually from, I mean, you can do it from the ego, I suppose, and we probably do. I probably do myself, but I try to catch myself when I do and not to beat myself up about it, to forgive myself and move on because it's another new moment and another new view. I'm complete.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you, Joe.
Mhm.
That interaction, their interaction is a process which literally alters both. And I never feel that, that my thoughts about someone are that powerful, but, and in listening to NDEs, you see that too. They re-experienced the effect that they had on the other person. We're all together. It's just, we're all facets of the infinitude and we all are connected. Minds are joined and we all affect one another. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, could go into trance and he could heal people from a distance like thousands of miles away. And he said, okay, we have the person, they're walking to they're coming back home. They're walking through, they're walking in the door. They're sitting down. They are ready. Like minds are joined. He knew he could connect with them. So that being said, the love that I turn to as much as possible is a function, and it's a function of being here, in my conscious awareness and being here. And this reminds me that it affects
Everything,
everything, everyone, and everything. Yeah.
every person.
Really. Yeah.
I had a great experience this week. I actually, one day I had a meltdown, what I call a meltdown. and the meltdown was because I found myself in a situation that I did not like at all. And I realized how judgmental I was about the whole thing. I mean, I even got to the point where I was crying about it. I was just miserable. And I realized, and then today I found myself in the same similar situation, but my whole view had changed because I recognized that prior, a few days ago, when I had this meltdown, that I was looking at the situation from a very judgmental, fearful place. And so, all it was doing was reflecting back on me, what's in me. So today I'm in the same similar place. And my whole attitude had just changed completely because I recognize that I and all of you, we are all together. We are all part of one big unified thing, God, an energy. And how we look and see and perceive comes back to us just like that. So here I am in a casino today, which the other day I was like, oh, I hate casinos. So today I'm in a casino and I have a whole different view because I recognize it was my own thoughts that were coming back to me the other day. And of course, then again today. So I was quite happy because I realized we are all part of each other, period. Unified.
Unified.
Okay, now I'm done.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Joel. Let's push on. Sharon, can you read paragraph 26? Your own present state is a good example.
Your own present state is a good example of how the mind made the ego. You do have knowledge at times, but when you throw it away, it is as if you never had it. This willfulness is so apparent that one need only perceive it to see that it does happen. If it can occur that way in the present, why is it surprising that it occurred that way in the past? Psychology rests on the principle of the continuity of behavior. Surprise is a reasonable response to the unfamiliar, but hardly to something that has occurred with such persistence. I am using your present state as an example of how the mind can work, provided you fully recognize that it need not work that way. Why are you surprised that something happened in the dim past when it is so clearly happening right now?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
You're welcome.
Sort of related to the first paragraph that Jacob read, you know, why are you surprised that something happened in the dim past when it's so clearly happening right now? Sharon, did you have something that you wanted to say about that?
No, thank you.
All right, hon.
You know, while we're in the present, we always use our life experiences as a way of, well, operating in the present. I guess that's what I'm thinking. And yet, you know, to take the past and pull it into the present just seems like it's okay when you need something that you've learned in the past and you have to perform something right now, like something with work or something like that. But you know, every once in a while I will have a thought that came from the past that really was like Joe was saying, I was in a really bad place. Now I can sit right here and be in that really bad place just by dragging it into the present. And it's just something that I've learned over this last, I don't know, it's been, I was on the road for 12 years, and so I've been back 6. So this last 6 years, it's been just easier and easier to recognize that and go like, oh, yeah. And then just poof, just say, okay, I'm done. I don't want to dwell on it. I don't want to mope around the house. I don't want to be miserable or you know, make it hard for Joy to, you know, be here. So I just try and just say, okay, I saw it. It's there. It happened. It's in the past. I don't need to learn anything more from that, and I'm done. So, all right. Anybody else for 26? We're doing pretty good on time. I think we might have to be a little more.
No. Go ahead.
what?
Go ahead. No, just talk. Just
Did I
talk.
spell it wrong?
No. Okay, forget it.
All
I can't do anything
So
twin.
it's
Elisa.
Elisa. There we go. I always want to say Elijah. Elisa, can you read?
Elisa, yes, I think Paula has her hand up. Did you have something,
Oh, I'm
Paula?
sorry. Thank you.
This last paragraph, it's sort of like, is it sort of like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results? Is that kind of what he's saying?
Anybody?
Sounds like it to me.
Okay.
I mean, we actually have a what's the French term for it? Déjà vu? You know, we do the same thing over and over and over, and you know, so you can say déjà vu, ja vu, ja vu, ja vu. Like,
Remember that book, Who Moved My Cheese?
yeah,
Somebody remember that book?
yeah,
That was really cool.
that was a quick.
I think Jesus has a term for this in the course. It says repetition compulsion. We have repetition
yeah.
compulsion. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think this the continuity of behavior is that, you know, we just caught in the loop of Maya.
Yeah.
Or even the Mobius strip that never has a beginning or an end. It's the Mobius strip, and it goes like something like that, and then they're all
So
back.
in other words, we can't get out of our loops.
We can't get
We
out
just-
of our way. Yeah.
But I think we can probably through meditation, right?
Yeah.
Somebody once told me a long time ago when I was in my early years struggling. So they said, Joe, take the tape out.
Oh, excellent. You just keep running the tape. Over.
That changed me a lot when I realized,
That's good.
Yeah.
Almost like a director of a movie yelling cut. That's it. That's a wrap. Let's take lunch. Yeah.
And you know, Our upsets too, aren't they? Seem like sometimes they're patterns. We get the same thing, like you just said, and I left a couple jobs and it was interesting. It was the same scenario. And it's like, how did that happen? It was like, I created the same scenario. It was a woman, a large woman in both cases, and who, misunderstood what I did and, blah, blah. And I just, ran out. And then all of a sudden I one day I said, wow, it's the pattern we keep creating, why is this happening to me again? There's a whole seminar about that,
Oh,
and you can break the pattern when you look at it and say, I'm doing this. They're not doing that. I'm doing this. And it's a pattern somehow that I've got up here, and I want to heal it. So I could heal it by looking at that woman, really, and looking at me and looking at the situation, and and looking at it with the eyes of Christ, and and learning what I can out of that I am not that job. I am, and she is not her job, that we're infinite, immortal beings, and we're so much bigger than that. Yeah. So it's all an opportunity,
Thanks.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
so it's Eliza.
Lisa, just take the E away. It's Lisa, Lisa.
Oh, Lisa. Okay.
And then
all right, Lisa.
Lisa.
Lisa, can you read paragraph 26?
Yes.
And it starts with you forget the love that animals have for their own. Oh, I love it.
You forget the love that animals have for their own offspring and the need they feel to protect them. This is because they regard them as part of themselves. No one disowns something he regards as a very real part of himself. Man reacts to his ego much as God does to his souls, with love, protection, and great charity. The reaction of man to the self he made is not at all surprising. In fact, it duplicates in many ways how he will one day react to his real creations, which are as timeless as he is. The question is not how man responds to his ego, but what he believes he is. What a lovely paragraph that is. Oh my goodness. So, yes, truly, how we are looking at our ego creation, sometimes the way we interact with others, those roles that we play to protect our loved ones, to make sure that their needs are met, and on, is, very close to like a God thing. But somewhere in there, and I think this is a little bit more of a Jungarian belief, that with each of those charitable things, there's sort of a shadow side to it. There's another part to it. So you can be charitable, but sometimes your giving nature can just overdo it until where you sort of burn out on that. So that would be like kind of this man-made thing that we tend to experience here. So we're on the right track until we get off the track, right? We're doing okay, and then we kind of get something a bit misaligned there. But even the very last sentence there, the question is not how man responds to his ego, but what he believes he is. And again, that's sort of like rising above that never, we have never lost that with God. We have just forgotten. And so, just let us recall once again, and again, for me, multiple times a day, what that is. So yeah, ego stuff is going to happen all the time. But am I really going to believe that is who I am and what I am? So at times it feels that way for sure, but the truth is greater. So
Yeah, absolutely. The truth is greater.
Yeah, excellent.
That's good.
Okay, Joy, can you read 28, please?
Okay.
It starts with belief is an ego function.
Okay. Belief is an ego function, and as long as your origin is open to belief at all, you are regarding it from an ego viewpoint. That is why the Bible quotes me as saying, Ye believe in God, believe also in me, unquote. Belief does apply to me because I am the teacher of the ego. When teaching is no longer necessary, you will merely know God. Belief that there is another way is the loftiest idea of which ego thinking is capable. That is because it contains a hint of recognition that the ego is not the self. Undermining the ego's thought system must be perceived as painful, even though this is anything but true. Babies scream in rage if you take away a knife or scissors, even though they may well harm themselves if you do not. The speed up has placed you in the same position. That's interesting. I've read this before. I forgot that it said speed up. You know, it's like, what? The speed up has placed you in the same position. You know, we want our, I think this is saying, undermining the ego's thought system must be perceived as painful because I might perceive it as taking away something that I want, you know, because sometimes the ego can, no, I don't know. I was going to say it can seem like it gives me something I want, but it really doesn't. It never does.
One of the things that I was challenged with as I approached the course was in changing my thinking, I wasn't really sure to what I was changing, period. In other words, I knew myself as I had constructed my ego. And up to that point, that's the only way I knew myself. Now, suddenly, even all that time, I still knew that, I did not believe there was a vengeful God, what most Western religions do, a God that punishes you and throws you into hellfire. But I was having a tough time understanding to what am I moving? And then I realized, rather than be afraid or go through the pain of that, since I was studying the course, maybe I ought to finish the course before I decide to be afraid. Because as the teacher says, the beginning of the course becomes scary because you're intimidated by what you might become by the end of it. But the key is to stay with the course so that it helps guide you so you can see what is possible.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Very good. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also say too, I just am getting this feeling more and more that, yeah, like I'm involved in the course. Many times I may not understand it, or maybe understand very little of it, but I guess I don't even have to understand it anymore. I'm just like here, right? We're here, we're together, we're reading it, we're joined. I think that's almost like the bigger point, because I'm not going to really understand this. That has to be let go. And maybe something else will come in. But anyway,
That's true.
just
Yeah, I think it's pretty well known, isn't it, that when words are read out loud in a group and that you take it in differently than if you were reading it in silence or listening it with headphones or something like that. And the subconscious can take it in and store it and you don't not even know it, and you can access it later. Just like storage on a computer. Let's see. Okay, paragraph 29. You are not prepared. Well, okay. That's me. You are not prepared. And in this sense, you are babies. You have no sense of real self-preservation and are very likely to decide that you need precisely what would hurt you most, whether you know it now or not. However, you will have willed to cooperate in a concerted and very commendable effort to become both harmless and helpful, two attributes which must go together. Your attitudes, even toward this, are necessarily conflicted because all attitudes are ego-based. This will not last. Be patient a while and remember that the outcome is as certain as God. And if there's something this book tells us, is that everything, God is gonna be there all the time. He never leaves. He's very patient. He realizes that we're these little human babies running around lighting our hair on fire, and eventually we'll figure it all out. And then when we do, he's there, and he's never. And when we get there, we'll realize that we've been there all the time. We just messed it up, I guess.
Did anybody else get a sense that he was talking about Helen and Bill in this paragraph?
No.
No,
Oh,
I did.
oh.
Because he does that sometimes, and they leave it in because it seems like it's a little it's personable. He said, whether you know it or not, however, you have willed to cooperate in a concerted and very commendable effort to become both harmless and helpful, two attributes which must go together. I hear him saying that to both Helen and especially to Bill, because Bill, that whole prayer, I'm here only to be helpful, was given to Bill because he was going to give a talk, and he was scared. He was frightened, of messing up and screwing up. And that prayer was given, I am here only to be truly helpful. So he said, your attitudes even toward this are necessarily conflicted. They were conflicted because all attitudes are ego-based. This will not last. And I see him saying, don't worry, you guys, this isn't going to last. Be patient a while. Remember that the outcome is as certain as God. That's so soothing, whether he's talking to Bill or Helen or not, or just, just in general, that's very soothing, very soothing.
Thank you. Okay. We're at paragraph 30. Paula, can you read that? It starts with only those who have a real and lasting sense of abundance.
Only those who have a real and lasting sense of abundance can be truly charitable. This is quite obvious when you consider the concepts involved. To the ego, to give anything implies that you will do without it. When you associate giving with sacrifice, then you give only because you believe that you are somehow getting something better, so that you can do without the thing you give. Giving to get is an inescapable law of the ego, which always evaluates itself in relation to other egos and is therefore continually preoccupied with the scarcity principle, which gave rise to it. This is the meaning of Freud's reality principle, since Freud thought of the ego as very weak and deprived, capable of functioning only as a thing in need. Well, yeah, on some level, I guess we all do this, but I try to at least be aware of what I'm thinking, kind of observe what I'm thinking. And when that sort of thing comes up, I know I'm not thinking with God. So, and it makes you feel terrible, really. But I think it's part of the human condition.
Thank you, Paula.
Anybody else for
No.
this paragraph?
Okay, paragraph 31. The reality principle of the ego is not real at all. Eric, can you read that for us?
The reality principle of the ego is not real at all. The ego is forced to perceive the reality of other egos because it cannot establish the reality of itself. In fact, its whole perception of other egos as real is only an attempt to convince itself that it is real. Quote, self-esteem, close quote, in ego terms means nothing more than the ego has deluded itself into accepting its reality and is therefore temporarily less predatory. This self-esteem is always vulnerable to stress, a term which actually refers to a condition in which the delusion of the ego's reality is threatened. This produces either ego deflation or ego inflation, resulting in either withdrawal or attack. I I kind of want to relate this paragraph to the first paragraph where it talks how we make our own ego, plus where I believe in how I interpret the first paragraph, we also create an ego for any person that we're interacting with. And every person that we interact with, our particular ego is going to be slightly adjusted to conform to that. And in its essence, as Jake has said earlier, we're all living this illusion together of all these egos. And somehow in the process, most of us are conforming to a set of rules that culturally or society has helped us create so that we more or less get along until we feel threatened. So we've got we have with the self-esteem. If you ever I'm sure we've all experienced, suddenly we might find ourselves in the presence of somebody that kind of intimidates or kind of makes us struggle a little bit to make sure our ego can keep up with their ego, even though most likely we're projecting how we interpret that other person when the other person doesn't even know they're doing anything to intimidate us, unless they're one of Joy's ex-employers.
Right. Big woman.
And so, again, where it says the ego is forced to perceive the reality of other egos because it cannot establish the reality of itself. This really weird exchange that goes on, whether you're conscious of it or not, can tend to feed yourself unless you want to be like, I think it was Joy that said, pull out the tape and refuse to participate in that. Try to see yourself standing apart from that, apart from the ego, be able to see from the large self or from our love center. Is it easy? No, you have to be mindful. And at this particular point, the reading hasn't taken it to that point, but that's pretty much how I see that particular paragraph. As I say, I'm complete.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Now, Eric, is that an 8-track tape?
Yes, it is. Actually, it used to be reel to reel, but I updated.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, I think everybody on this call can probably.
Or do we go back to wire tape?
Yeah. I think we were all around when the phone had a rotary dial on it. Yeah. Okay. Paragraph 32. Tony, you want to read that for us? The ego literally lives by comparison.
Can you hear me? We had problems this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're doing great.
Okay, good. The ego literally lives by comparison. This means that equality is beyond its grasp and charity becomes impossible. The ego never gives out of abundance because it was made as a substitute for it. This is why the concepts of getting arose in the ego's thought system. All appetites are getting mechanisms, representing the ego's need to confirm itself. This is as true of body appetites as it is of the so-called higher ego needs. Bodily appetites are not physical in origin. The ego regards the body as its home and does try to satisfy itself through the body. But the idea that this is possible is a decision of the ego, which is completely confused about what is really possible. This accounts for its erratic nature. I'm fine with how it reads.
why does it say that bodily appetites are not physical in origin? Is there, that doesn't
The
seem.
body doesn't, it's neutral. The
Oh,
body's
oh, the
neutral.
body's
Yeah,
neutral?
yeah. Oddly enough.
But, okay, but it calls it a bodily appetite. First, it says all appetites are getting mechanisms representing the ego's need.
Yeah, you wouldn't have an appetite if you didn't want something.
Oh, now I see. Oh, okay. All right. So, I mean, all need comes from the ego?
Yep. From
That is,
wanting.
that is a big part of the separation. Remember, it's the sense of lack that is key out of the separation.
All right. Okay.
At least that's my interpretation, folks.
Yeah, that's,
And the appetite could be for food or for knowledge or for anything. Power. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, what would it be like not to need, not, to really know that you don't need anything, that you
of
do.
myself, I need nothing. I think I read that.
It would be complete. I had this thought before the call. It's interesting because I don't know, this thought came to me of being absolutely, totally complete in this moment. Like, it's interesting that I haven't had that thought in decades, but I don't think, but being totally complete, what would that be like? Like I could die tomorrow or die in the next moment. What do you mean tomorrow? In the next moment. And I'm complete. What would that, is that, and I thought that is so cool because to live your life like that, to be, it's really to be mindful, to be in the moment and to be complete and to complete, right? And to be complete would mean you have no needs, with loving you, you have no need but to extend it, quote unquote, you have no need but to extend love. Wouldn't that be cool? That's the only need that you have is to extend.
Just don't go now.
I'm not going to go anywhere.
Wait till after the call.
Wait a couple of minutes. Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Tony. Yeah. Wait till we're off the call. Yeah.
But listen, I'm not going anywhere. Even when I go on, I'll be here.
Yeah, yeah. One of our favorite songs with the groundhog just came up. One of our favorite songs is the I Got You Babe by Sonny and Cher. And that when he hits the alarm every morning, that's the song that plays in that movie. So everybody,
I got you, babe.
I got you, babe.
Something tells me, Chris, that when she goes, she's taking you with her.
Oh, Eric, I think I'm
Combo set.
I think I'm fine with that. I mean, I've read a lot of stories where one of the spouses passes and then the other one just figures out a way to follow. And a lot of, I mean, I'm not saying that it's self-inflicted, but the body just says, I guess I'm complete. I'm just late. I'll be there in a couple of months or something. And not to go even deeper into that, but when you do pass, you realize that you've never left where it is we're going to go.
Right.
Right. So then I was like, oh, it's like a snap or a poof or a puff or something like that. So, okay, we're back to the top of the reading order. I got the bottom of the hour, and we're kind of getting close to the 7:45 hour.
Sometimes we bomb through if we get desperate, we bomb through just reading, we might have to, but does anybody else want to read that didn't read before we start again?
Before that, can I just, course is very well known for giving us shocking statements and, shock treatment. Of course, we all know that, but I found this one line was right now was a shock treatment to me. The second line in that paragraph which you read, the ego never gives out of abundance because it was made as a substitute for it. Now, widely in the spiritual circles, we all talk and write about abundance. This is the word that has a lot of currency and it's quite popular among us, but now that if we read this line closely, it's actually a shock treatment because as long as I consider myself as a separate entity, Joshua, I cannot understand, or I cannot be abundant at all because I am a substitute for it. Now, that's something. We all talk about abundance of love or abundance of
Yes.
wealth. But if I'm a substitute for it, then how can I feel abundant? So which means that, like Eric said, unless and until we let go of that sense of separation, we'll be always feeling deprived and we'll be reeling in sense of lack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the opposite of separation is to feel joined, you know, and then you're connected. Then you don't have a lack, you know, when you feel connected, which is the opposite of feeling separate.
Okay. All right. Jacob, paragraph 33. Can you read for us? The ego believes it is completely on its own.
Okay.
Why are you laughing?
It's okay. The ego believes completely on its own, which is merely another way of describing how it originated. Separate. Huh? This is such a that it can only turn to other egos and try in a attempt at identification or attack them in an equal feeble show of strength. It is not free, however, to consider the validity of the premise itself, because this premise is its foundation. The ego is the belief of the mind that it is completely on its own. Its ceaseless attempts to gain the soul's acknowledgement and thus to establish its own existence are utterly useless. That makes sense to me. I think this paragraph to me speaks of the separation, that we're in a world of 8 billion other separate souls, and we're just scraping our way along, and it's a very fearful state, that's for sure. It was interesting. It can only turn to other egos and try to unite with them in a feeble attempt at identification, and that's why we have such a, I guess, other than biological, of wanting to be with a mate or other people and friends and have people in our lives, but in feeble attempt at identification, and then or attack them in an equally feeble of strength. Yeah, this whole dance that everyone does because they're separate or believe that their being is separate. It's interesting, and how the ego isn't free. However, consider the validity of the premise itself, because the premise is its foundation. Yeah, I guess they can't look at that whole part of the ego, because that's the foundation of the ego, is the separation, and yeah, that's all, I guess.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah.
No, we're short on time, but I'd like to add one thought to Jake, as she did such a great job there. But the ego is the belief of the mind, excuse me, that it is completely on its own. The most hopeful word in that sentence to me is belief, because as we know, we can change our minds. A belief can be changed, because a belief is built on perception, not on truth, as it speaks earlier in this particular section, I believe. So just because you believe it doesn't mean you have to live it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Eric. Paragraph 34. Joe, can you read that? The soul in its knowledge is unaware of the ego.
Thank God. The soul in its knowledge is unaware of the ego. It does not attack it. It merely cannot conceive of it at all. While the ego is equally unaware of the soul, it does perceive itself as rejected by, quote, something, unquote, which is greater than itself. This is why self-esteem in ego terms must be a delusion. The creations of God do not create myths, although the creative efforts of man can turn to mythology. It can do so, however, only under one condition. What man then makes is no longer creative. Myths are entirely perceptions and are so ambiguous in form and so characteristically good and evil in nature that the most benevolent of them is not without fearful components, if only by innuendo.
Wow. Where's Karen, our search engine? How many times is the word innuendo
Oh,
in,
yeah.
in this book? That's the first time I've seen it.
Really? Huh.
Innuendo.
Hmm.
That's perception. No, that's not it. That perception. That's what is innuendo? Innuendo. It would be like a hidden meaning, something like that. Right. Yeah. Hidden meaning.
It's hinted at.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Paragraph 35. Sharon, can you read that for us? It starts with myth and magic are closely associated.
That myths are usually related to the ego origins and magic to the powers which the ego ascribes to itself. Every mythological system includes some account of the creation and associates this with its particular perception of magic. The battle for survival is nothing more than the ego's struggle to preserve itself and its interpretation of its own beginnings. This beginning is always associated with physical birth, because no one maintains that the ego existed before that point in time. The religiously ego-oriented believe that the soul existed before and will continue to exist afterwards, after a temporary lapse in ego life. Some actually believe that the soul will be punished for this lapse, even though in reality, it could not possibly know anything about it.
Uh-oh, I think we just lost Hell.
Who?
I think we just lost Hell.
Hell?
Yeah.
Well,
Hell. No, Hell, not hell. Okay. All right. What?
I was waiting for Sharon. I just.
No, I'll just pass. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm
Thank
sorry. I didn't mean to. Sorry, Sharon. I didn't mean to step on your parade. I'm sorry.
I was thinking about the paragraph before when it talks about that the ego is, it knows that it's being rejected by something, and that always stuck inside of me, because I think when we're in that place before we come in and we learn about the course, that something else is something that I always chased, that thing in me that I never knew what it was, but the course brought that to light for me. So that's something in quotes that it talks about is something that I feel is very personal to myself. And I love the course for that reason, bringing me hope and a lot of promise. So thank you.
Thanks.
It's so amazing when we read this stuff that things just come to us that there's four different ways to visualize whatever it is we're doing. There's you don't know, you don't know, you don't know, and you don't know, you don't know. So it's interesting how when I read this book, I read it as though I already know it.
You do.
Yeah. So it's like, man,
It's just a remembering, because we just totally came in here with amnesia. And we're just like,
yeah.
which was purposeful.
Yeah. That's why little babies have such a shit-eating grin on their face, because they
Remember.
they still remember. Lisa, can you read paragraph 36?
37. No, 36. Sorry.
36.
I got you.
Come on
I
there,
got you.
dear. Paragraph 36, it starts out with the term salvation does not apply.
The term salvation does not apply to the soul, which is not in danger and does not need to be salvaged. Salvation is nothing more than right-mindedness, which is not the one-mindedness of the soul, but which must be accomplished before one-mindedness can be restored. Right-mindedness dictates the next step automatically because right perception is uniformly without attack, so that wrong-mindedness is obliterated. The ego cannot survive without judgment and is laid aside accordingly. The mind then has only one direction in which it can move. The direction which the mind will take is always automatic because it cannot but be dictated by the thought system to which the mind adheres. I'm not going to say too much there other than I think that's really loaded, and boy, is your mind powerful. I mean, you know, you give it, it has this power to choose. And again, we've kind of covered some of this in the other paragraphs, but you know, is it for ego? Is it for spirit? And
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, let's see. 37, that's you. You're up.
Already?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Every thought system has internal consistency, and this provides the basis for the continuity of behavior. However, this is a matter of reliability and not validity. Quote unquote, reliable behavior is a meaningful perception as far as ego thinking goes. However, quote unquote, valid behavior is an expression which is inherently contradictory because validity is an end and behavior is a means. These cannot be combined logically because when an end has been attained, the means for its attainment are no longer meaningful. Well, reliable behavior is a meaningful perception as far as it goes. However, valid behavior is an expression which is inherently contradictory. Valid behavior, validity in the end. It's like a word salad for me.
Yeah.
You know,
The word's meaningful.
total word salad.
Yeah.
Well, I see that matter of reliability, you know, we can be reliably wrong in our misperceptions. I mean, right. And, you know, the world can keep, you know, it can be very consistent and be reliable, but look at this whole thing is reliable. I mean, the sun's going to come up and go down and this table, you know, and, you know, things seem reliable, but boy, they're not valid. And, but I'm accepting that I'm in this dual world, and it's got some very reliable and consistent constraints.
Yeah.
And I live within them and know that it's temporary and that I chose to be here in this constraint to be nonetheless, to see the light and to be the light nonetheless. So anyway, that's all I got. Okay.
And you talk about this desk, everybody on the call has to agree that this is a desk.
Oh, it's a joint hallucination.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because these atoms are no different than the atoms in our body, but these atoms are in the form of a desk, and we all agree that this is a desk.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm reading, you know, how about it, Jacob? Jake and I are studying Christian Sundberg, and it's incredible stuff. And he said everything, this experience of body and this is within you. And, you know, that's what the Course says. Everything is mind, you within it and it within you. It's all mind. He said the experience is within you. It's so fantastic. Yes. He said it's like a video game. Like Jacob said, a virtual reality. You're in this video game, you know. Where is the game being played? In you. You know, so what is your game saying about your thoughts? You know, and your creations, you know, everything that comes to me as I've asked, you know. Anyway.
So if it's a video, wait a minute, we can go back to what Joe said about taking the tape out. So the tape is really an Atari cartridge. You pull that out, you stop playing the game.
I guess.
Oh, there we go. Okay, we have quarter till. We've got 3 paragraphs left. That I'm going to read 38, and then I think I'll ask Paula and Eric to finish us off, and then we should be pretty good. I think we'll probably be done here in a few minutes. Anybody have any place to go? We've already lost a couple people that blinked off, so don't feel embarrassed or anything like that. We all understand people have things to do. All right, paragraph 38. The hypothesis is either false or true, to be accepted or rejected accordingly. If it is known to be true, it becomes a fact, after which no one attempts to evaluate it unless its status as fact is questioned. Every idea to which the ego has accorded the status of fact is questionable because facts are in the realm of knowledge.
Would you say, Eric? Oh, Paula.
Paula, can you read 39, please?
Yeah. Confusing realms of discourse is the thinking error which philosophers have recognized for centuries. Psychologists are generally quite deficient in this respect, as are many theologians. Data from one realm of discourse do not mean anything in another because they can be understood only within the thought system of which they are a part. That is why psychologists are concentrating increasingly on the ego in an attempt to unify their clearly unrelated data. It needs hardly be said that an attempt to relate the unrelated cannot succeed. My head is spinning.
And then Eric.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you, Paula. Eric, can you finish us off? Paragraph 40. It starts.
I'll take us out of here. The more recent ecological emphases are but another ingenious way of trying to impose order on chaos. We have already credited the ego with considerable ingenuity, though not with creativeness. It should, however, be remembered that inventiveness is really wasted effort, even in its most ingenious forms. We do not have to explain anything. This is why we need not trouble ourselves with inventiveness. The highly specific nature of invention is not worthy of the abstract creativity of God's creations. And if you don't mind, Joy, I'd be more than happy to take us out with our little closing thoughts tonight.
Oh, okay. Yes.
If you'd like, but
Thank you.
if, I don't know how much do we need to rush? It's
Oh, no,
We're there. I mean,
all right, why don't you do that, Eric, and then we'll close with a prayer.
well, no,
sounds.
you're the prayer, right?
Oh, you're the.
I'm offering that tonight.
Okay.
You're the prayer.
All right, let's.
I love it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So
Everybody kind of just
Hold your hands.
hold your hands and be in a state of mind where even though we're spanning states and countries and the world, we're really all here together. All right, go ahead, Eric.
there is no will but God's. We are the child of God. God's will is our will. We are one with God. We are one with all creation. We are one. Y'all have a good week.
Amen.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
Namaste, everybody. Have a good day.
Namaste.
Everyone, have a good night.
All right, go Super Bowl. Eagles, Chiefs. Who's gonna win? We're gonna win the umpires.
This was wonderful. Thank
All right,
you.
thank
Thank you
you.
all.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good night. God bless.
Thursday. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.